How's it going, everyone? Doc here with Eyes Wide Shot Gaming, and today we're going to take a look at builds that pertain to the 3 bows we have currently in-game. We start off with my personal favorite, the Sagittarius Bow, which dishes out the highest base damage out of all 3 bows we have. Let's go ahead and dive right in. We look at our primary archetype, Hunter, for its Deadeye damage perk that increases our range damage, weak spot damage, and ranged critical chance. The skill we opt for with Hunter is Hunter's Shroud. It's a big bonus to our crit chance, as well as makes us harder to hit. The secondary archetype we go for is Gunslinger. The increase to range damage and crit chance makes it hard for us not to choose. Its primary skill is Bulletstorm, a skill that increases our bow's critical chance by 15%, and the speed of the projectile is increased by 50%. Our amulet in this build is Shade Bloom Crystal. We gain a 30% damage bonus that swaps between physical and elemental. For our first ring, we equip the Burden of the Gambler. Again, we want to keep buffing up our critical chance and critical damage as much as we can, so the 10% to crit chance and 20% to crit damage is a fantastic start in the ring department. The second ring we have on is Xania's Malice, but realistically, we can swap it to a ring that either increases reload speed or opt to swap the first ring, Burden of the Gambler. The third ring is again an increase to critical damage, so the probability core ring with its 30% increase to crit damage is a great choice. Finally, for our fourth ring, the Devoured Loop. Increasing critical chance and damage is nice, but having the critical hit reset skill cooldowns is also worthwhile. Sadly, it does increase the damage we take by 10%. We look over to our secondary weapon slot and see a cube gun. The reason for that is its mod, Cube Shield. Its damage absorption of up to 1500 is a big boost to our defenses. Our melee weapon is the Stonebreaker. Large weapon for large damage to finish off any enemy that gets past your bow. Finally, our main weapon, the Sagittarius. As a bow, it unleashes amazing base damage, but with the Momentum Mutator, as well as the rings, amulet, and relics that enhance its crit chance and crit damage, it turns into something truly flawless. The Relic Heart we opt for gives us a little bonus to survival with the Tranquil Heart, supplied with ranged critical chance, critical damage, and range damage. Everything to push up our crit chance and crit damage. The traits are basic, and the priority ones are already chosen by our initial 2 archetypes. The rest can be swapped around to your liking. Our second build has a similar setup with the archetypes, but the only difference is for Hunter archetype, the skill we use isn't Hunter's Shroud, but instead Hunter's Mark, followed by Gunslinger hand in hand with the Bulletstorm skill. Let's jump into the amulet so we can see what makes this royal hunting bow tick. We opt for Gift of Melancholy, which increases all damage dealt by 25% when stamina is at 100% for 7 seconds. It may not seem like the best choice, but we have a ring that will help us out with the stamina. First ring we have on is the Assassin's Seal. It reduces the enemy awareness range by 25% and increases all damage we deal to enemies that are not targeting us or aware of us by 10%. This build is all about being sneaky beaky. The second ring we equip is the reason why we have the Gift of Melancholy amulet. We're using the bisected ring. You gain infinite stamina, but all damage we receive is increased by 15%. That's fine, because the enemy awareness isn't as avid due to the first ring we have on. Think of us being like a ninja with a bow and arrow. The third ring is Stone of Expanse. It increases range damage by 12%, but reduces all other damage by 6%. Our main focus is our range damage, so we don't mind the drop in all other damage. For our last ring, Vestige of Power. After not taking any damage for 7 seconds, we increase our ranged and melee damage by 10%. This is a fantastic ring which synergizes very well with our whole Silent Bowman build. Let's take a look at our secondary. We go for the MP60R. It's a very, very fast handgun with a blistering 4.2 fire rate, along with the mod we equip, Bore, not designed to do damage itself, but helps us induce more damage with our bow if we hit the spots we bored. The melee weapon that we have on here is the Krell Axe. The mod on it applies overloaded on hit, which lets us increase our damage output, not by a lot, but it's something. You can swap this with any other melee of your choice realistically. Now we finally look at our primary, the Royal Hunting Bow. 240 damage and a rate of fire at 4.3, we see that the synergy we have put together using our amulet, rings, and the Mutator Slayer, which increases the next shot by 20% after reload, truly puts this bow on the map of high damage dealing weapons. This may not be your best bet against a boss on Apocalypse, but it will snuff out the mobs while getting to the world boss. The relic heart that I chose for this build is Pulsing Heart, for its healing pulses that gain health not just for you, but for your teammates as well, accompanied by ranged damage, weak spot damage, and ranged critical chance. Our armor and traits are basic and interchangeable. I opted for light armor for speed, and the main trait I chose is Untouchable for a better evade. Finally, we get to the third and last bow build in this video. We start off with the exact same archetypes and skills as we did for our first bow build. Hunter with Hunter's Shroud, and Gunslinger with Bulletstorm. For the amulet, we equip the Ankh of Power, giving us an increase to all damage by 15%. The first ring we have equipped is the Ring of Flawed Beauty, for its ranged weak spot damage increase by 25%. The second ring is the Probability Cord. It increases our critical damage by a static 30%. Solid choice for any one-hit-or-quitter build. The third ring complements the first ring. We use Xania's Malice to increase our weak spot damage by 10% for 7 seconds, stacking 3 times. So, aim high. Our fourth and last ring is the Devoured Loop. We're aiming for critical hits, so why not have a 1% chance at resetting our skills that will enhance our bow's attack damage. For our secondary weapon, we have on the Anguish Handgun. To be perfectly honest, the mod looks like a great light show, but the Mutator is what helps us in a pinch. Harmonizer will generate 25% additional mod power for our stowed weapon. The melee we chose is World's Edge. Its wide charge attack, Horizon Strike, helps clear pots and boxes for scrap. But that's it. And now we look at the main part of it all, the primary. We have the Crescent Moon Bow. Solid 261 damage and a respectable 4.1 rate of fire is fantastic. But what separates this bow from the rest is its mod, Moonlight Barrage. Not only does it heal you and your allies for 5% of max health, but it grants a return on your arrow, as well as increases fire and reload speed by 15% for 5 seconds. On top of it all, the charged shots we do become 2 arrows, doubling down our damage and outputting between 6,000 to 10,000 damage per shot. The Mutator I like for this build is Momentum, to help us with crit chance and crit damage. Now the Relic Heart. We use Ruined Heart for the mod power, along with range critical damage, range critical chance, and weak spot damage. The traits again are very simple, main focus being long shot, spirit, and expertise. Try out all these builds and comment down below telling us which one was your favorite or how we can make them even better. And don't forget to subscribe to be up to date on any builds, walkthroughs, or reviews we do here at Eyes Wide Shot Gaming. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and until next time, so long.